A few weeks ago, I was taking a business trip to Helsinki and I decided to make it a bit more spicy. It was my second time to Helsinki this year, somewhere I like very much, but on this trip I decided to explore the medieval town of Porvoo and then catch the ferry to Tallinn. Spot stamped, I headed straight for the tallest escalator in the world before walking to my hotel in the freezing rain. I'd arranged to stay at the Scandic Helsinki hub for the second time. It's clean and warm and close to the centre of town, highly recommended. After a quick spruce up and after donning some warmer clothes, I headed out to reacquaint myself with Helsinki. My first stop after a wintry stroll down the Esplanade was Senate Square. Dating back to the 18th century, home to Helsinki Cathedral, the Government Palace, the University of Helsinki, and today a Christmas market. Bagging some donuts and a warm cup of Christmas juice, I headed back to the hotel to plan my trip to Porvoo the following day. The next day I spent 25 minutes getting dressed for the cold weather and a further 25 minutes setting up this snazzy transitioning leaving scene, and then I set off for the bus station. I never actually heard of Porvoo before this trip. It was recommended to me by the unfortunate soul that had the misfortune of sitting next to me on the flight from London. The bus to Porvoo takes about 45 minutes and costs €14 each way. And here's me pretending not to notice the camera I'm holding in my left arm. Porvoo as a town dates back to the 15th century, with most buildings dating from the 18th century. The old town has a fantastic feel to it, some very beautiful medieval architecture and cobblestone roads. It almost feels like you've gone back in time. Except for the cars and tourists, of course. By fire 5 times since the 15th century during times of war with the Danish and Russian forces. Most recently it was destroyed by arson in 2006. I would love to have seen more of the cathedral, but unfortunately I only had a few hours here to explore, but I'll definitely like to come back again one day. Colourful houses have real character and lots of stories to tell, like why do they have these tiny doors on the side? I had a short time to explore Porvoo Old Town before it was time to head back to Helsinki, although I know I'll be back again in the future at some point, maybe when it's a little less wet and a little warmer. Back in Helsinki I stopped to record some jazzy time lapses in the rain, took yet more pictures of trams and then headed out to a Lebanese restaurant for a well-earned dinner. The following day, after a hot cup of wake-up juice, I had work to do. In the afternoon, I went for a final walk around town before heading off to Tallinn early the next day. Something I missed on my first trip to Helsinki during the summer was the Ouspensky Russian Orthodox Cathedral. Built in 1860 when Finland was a Grand Duchy of the Russian Empire, it stands on the highest hill in the city and overlooks the harbour and the cathedral in Senate Square. It's a short walk to the Viking ferry terminal and straight into the melee to board the boat to Estonia. Tickets are approximately €30 per person for a one-way voyage. This was the second time on a Viking cruise ship, and the second time wasn't much better than the first. You can catch my thoughts on that cruise by clicking in the top right hand corner now. This trip was a lot more choppy than the first and blooming freezing, so I warmed myself up with a hot chocolate and braced myself to look out the window. Back on dryish land I walked to my hotel. I stayed in the Radisson Park Inn, nestled between the Moldovan Embassy and Sex Club. The room itself was functional if a little dated, but it would do for a couple of days. After settling into the hotel I went to explore the old town. Now the only problem with the old town is that there is too much to see and photograph. Literally everywhere you look there is a photo opportunity. So after taking far too many rubbish photos and then looking around my third Christmas market of the trip, I set about finding somewhere nice for dinner. I ended up at Ratiscavu 16 opposite the Catwell. The service was great, the food even better, and after a bottle of wine and a full belly, it was time for bed. This is the Cat's Well. It was once believed to have been inhabited by an evil cat-eating spirit. To appease the spirit and prevent flooding, locals would throw stray cats into the well. I'm told this is no longer the case, however I didn't see a single cat during my stay. After searching high and low for a stray cat, I decided to visit the KGB prison cells. It's a fascinating museum highlighting the terrible conditions in which former Soviet prisoners were kept. The most shocking for me was the use of a meat grinder to dispose of bodies. I would highly recommend a visit. And for €22 you also get access to the Museum of Occupations and Freedom. Well worth the money. For a long day sightseeing, it was time for dinner. Tonight I stayed close to the hotel in a little bar called St. Patrick's. Again, the food was great, the wine perfect and the service impeccable. I would highly recommend if you're ever in the neighbourhood. After breakfast, I set out to explore some more, first chatting with a medieval squire and then looking through some questionable items in a local antique shop. I would hate to imagine the stories behind some of this stuff. Gearing myself up, I did some Christmasing, had a glogie and headed to the medieval castle fortifications to walk up and down steps for the next 2 hours. Cumbria Castle has existed in some form since at least the 9th century and has since changed hands multiple times, from the Danes, the Teutonic Order of the Knight, to the Swedes, back to the Danes and then the Russians. For €24 you can explore the ramparts, the castle and the underground tunnel system. If you're interested in history, then this is a must-see, although I'd warn you, there are a lot of uneven steps. The underground tunnels are a fascinating journey through the history of Tallinn, starting in more recent times during the Soviet occupation, where it was used to store ceremonial flags and banners, through World War II as a fallout shelter, all the way back to medieval times, where archaeologists have discovered ancient stones dating back at least as far as the Teutonic Knights, maybe even further. Back above ground, I just have enough time to photograph another tram before heading off to the airport for my flight home. Unsurprisingly, my Scandinavian Airways flight was delayed, and although I didn't know it yet, but my connecting flight would also be delayed later that evening. I had to board this little fella to catch a connection to Copenhagen or risk being stuck another night. As it turns out, the flight was long but uneventful and I made it home later that evening. If things don't go wrong on these trips, then we will forget to appreciate the good bits. Travelling can be long and exhausting at times, but whatever the destination, we always come home a little wiser with plenty of stories to bore our loved ones. And in my case, you lovely people. Thanks for taking this trip with me. If you are still here, then why not like and subscribe for more travel content.